100. You beat bumping.
A positive step forward in the path to healing for a Midlands family this week after a woman pleaded guilty to the 2021 killing of her boyfriend.
Columbia police say Taylor Wardlaw shot and killed 26-year-old Terrell Sims just days before Christmas and then reported him missing. The case was set to go to trial Monday, but Wardlaw entered a plea deal with prosecutors and was sentenced to 20 years in prison.
Nick Neville spoke with Sims' sister today and has more.
In the quiet neighborhoods of Columbia, South Carolina, December 2021 brought a search that captivated local residents. Taylor Wardlaw moved through the community with tears streaming down her face, desperately organizing search parties for her missing boyfriend, Terrell Sims. Her voice would crack as she pleaded with neighbors, friends, and family to help find the 26-year-old father of four who had seemingly vanished without a trace. "Please, if anyone has seen Terrell, call me immediately," she begged on social media posts that quickly spread throughout the tight-knit community. He wouldn't just leave his children like this, especially not before Christmas. The search intensified as days passed. Taylor stood before news cameras, her eyes red and swollen, describing the last time she had seen him at their home. She detailed how worried she was, how their child kept asking for daddy, how she couldn't sleep not knowing where he was. She organized search efforts in wooded areas near Monticello Road, bringing together dozens of concerned citizens who combed through brush and creek beds looking for any sign of Terrell. But as Taylor led these searches, as she cried on the shoulders of Terrell's family members, as she made impassioned pleas to the public, she harbored a secret so dark it would stun the entire community when revealed. Taylor Wardlaw knew exactly where Terrell Sims was. She knew because she had put him there. The truth would emerge in early January 2022. Taylor had shot Terrell multiple times during an argument on December 20th. Within hours of killing him, while his body lay hidden, she had taken his custom-mouth grill to a pawn shop to sell it for cash. Then, with help from a friend, she had wrapped Terrell's body in plastic, dumped it near a creek, and discarded his ankle monitor a mile away. For nearly 2 weeks after the murder, Taylor maintained an elaborate charade of the worried girlfriend, the desperate searcher, the heartbroken partner, all while knowing she had ended Terrell's life with 4 bullets, including one to his back as he turned away from her. The case of Terrell Sims reveals how the facade of concern can mask cold calculation, how the person leading the search can be the very one responsible for the disappearance, and how those closest to us might harbor the most shocking secrets. As we examine this case, we'll uncover how investigators broke through Taylor's deception, how family members' suspicions led to crucial breakthroughs, and how justice eventually caught up with a woman who thought she could literally get away with murder. But before we continue with this disturbing true crime story, I want to ask you, have you ever noticed how the people closest to us can sometimes hide the darkest secrets? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you're new to DarkTrace Crime Stories, make sure to hit that subscribe button to join our community of true crime enthusiasts who dig deep into cases just like this one. Now, let's return to Columbia, South Carolina, where a missing person case was about to transform into something far more disturbing. To understand the events that unfolded in December 2021, we need to step back to 2018, when Taylor Wardlaw and Terrell Sims first crossed paths in Columbia, South Carolina. Their relationship began like many others, with attraction, hope, and the promise of building something together. But beneath the surface, complications were already taking root. Terrell Sims was 26 years old at the time of his disappearance, a father of 4 children: Riley Bryant, Jemiah Rains, Terrell Devon Sims Jr., and Chauncey Sims. Those who knew him described him as loving and protective, especially toward his children. His twin sister Marcella spoke of their close bond, how he had been her protector through difficult times. When Taylor entered his life in 2018, the relationship quickly intensified. Within months, they moved in together, creating what appeared from the outside to be a blended family. But friends and relatives noticed concerning patterns emerging almost immediately. Taylor would do different things as far as tracking and monitoring his calls, Marcella later revealed. She would do a lot of stuff to keep tabs on him. He couldn't do anything without her knowing it. This controlling behavior escalated as their relationship progressed. By 2020, Taylor was pregnant with Terrell's child, and what had been simmering tension boiled over into a serious incident. Taylor called the police, claiming Terrell had threatened her life and put a gun to her 9-month pregnant belly. The accusation resulted in Terrell's arrest. He spent nearly a year in jail, missing the birth of his child. It wasn't until August 2021 that Taylor posted his bail, allowing him to return home, but with strict conditions. Terrell was required to wear an ankle monitor and adhere to a no-contact order with Taylor. There was a strict no-contact provision in his bond, so he was not supposed to be in contact with her, certainly not living with her, explained prosecutor Catherine Kavanaugh. Yet despite these legal barriers, Terrell and Taylor resumed living together by late 2021, flagrantly violating the court's orders. The ankle monitor that was meant to track Terrell's movements and ensure compliance became a mere inconvenience in their rekindled relationship. As they settled back into cohabitation, the dynamics that had plagued them before resurfaced with greater intensity. Taylor's jealousy and suspicion grew. She constantly checked Terrell's whereabouts, monitored his communications, and accused him of infidelity. What friends and investigators would later discover was that while Taylor was obsessively tracking Terrell's movements and communications, she herself was developing a relationship with another man, Eddie Youngster Brown. This hidden connection added another layer of complexity to an already volatile situation. By December 2021, the relationship had become a pressure cooker of jealousy, suspicion, and resentment. Cell phone records would later reveal that on the night of December 19th into the early morning of December 20th, Taylor called Terrell repeatedly, her messages growing increasingly angry and accusatory. The only motive that we could clearly see was just her anger towards him, that she thought he was cheating on her, Kavanaugh later stated. She was calling him over and over and over that night. I'm sure that her rage was building over the course of those hours. What happened next would transform their troubled relationship into a missing person case that captured the attention of an entire community and eventually exposed a truth far more disturbing than anyone initially suspected. On December 22, 2021, just 3 days before Christmas, Taylor Wardlaw contacted the Columbia Police Department to report that her boyfriend, Terrell Sims, was missing. According to her initial statement, she had last seen Terrell at their home on Irvin Street on December 20th, where he had been spending time with their child before supposedly leaving without explanation. He just disappeared, Taylor told officers, her voice trembling. He wouldn't leave his kids right before Christmas. Something must have happened to him. The timing couldn't have been worse. Families across Columbia were preparing for holiday celebrations, while Taylor was launching a desperate search for the father of her child. She quickly took to social media, posting photos of Terrell and pleading for information about his whereabouts. Her posts were shared hundreds of times across community groups, and local news stations soon picked up the story of the missing father of 4. But as Taylor's public campaign to find Terrell gained momentum, inconsistencies began to emerge in her narrative. When speaking with Terrell's family, she claimed he had left after an argument. When talking to police, she suggested he might have gone to visit friends. When interviewed by news reporters, she indicated he had stepped out to run an errand and never returned. Each version contained subtle differences, different times, different circumstances, different last words exchanged. These discrepancies didn't go unnoticed, particularly by Terrell's twin sister, Marcella Sims Jacobs. Having shared a unique bond with her brother since birth, Marcella's intuition told her something was profoundly wrong with Taylor's accounts. The more she told her story, the more I was just like, something's not sounding right, Marcella later told investigators. She kept telling me to calm down, don't post nothing, don't say nothing, you're talking too much, you're going to get me locked up, you're going to get me in trouble. This strange request, asking family members to limit their social media activity about a missing loved one, raised immediate red flags. Why would Taylor worry about getting in trouble if she was simply a concerned girlfriend searching for her missing partner? Even more puzzling was Taylor's behavior during the search efforts she organized. Rather than coordinating with Terrell's family, she often arranged searches without their knowledge or involvement. She focused on specific areas near Monticello Road, sometimes returning to the same locations repeatedly despite no evidence being found there. She wasn't meeting me and my sister halfway, Rose Sims, Terrell's sister, later recalled. She didn't invite us over for Christmas. She didn't invite us over to her house. She didn't try to have a family meeting. It was more like she was working against us than she was with us. As Christmas came and went with no sign of Terrell, a crucial piece of information emerged that shifted the investigation's direction. The monitoring company responsible for tracking Terrell's court-mandated ankle monitor contacted authorities with disturbing news. The device had been tampered with on December 21st, and its last recorded location was on Monticello Road, the very area where Taylor had been focusing her search efforts. This revelation immediately elevated the case from a routine missing person report to something potentially more ominous. Why would Terrell's ankle monitor be tampered with? And why was its last location in an area that Taylor seemed fixated on searching? Police began to look more closely at the timeline Taylor had provided. If Terrell had last been seen on December 20th, but his ankle monitor wasn't tampered with until December 21st, who had access to the device during that period? The discrepancy couldn't be easily explained away. As December drew to a close with still no sign of Terrell, investigators started piecing together cell phone records, surveillance footage, and witness statements. The picture that emerged contradicted Taylor's public displays of concern and desperation. Behind her tears and pleas for help lurked inconsistencies that couldn't be ignored, and evidence that would soon transform a missing person case into something far more disturbing. What investigators discovered next would shock the entire community and reveal that the search for Terrell Sims had been compromised from the very beginning by the person who appeared most determined to find him. As investigators dug deeper into the disappearance of Terrell Sims, the facade Taylor Wardlaw had constructed began to crumble. The breakthrough came in early January 2022, when a friend of Taylor's approached police with information that would change everything. This witness reported that late one night after Terrell's disappearance, Taylor and a man named Eddie Youngsta Brown had visited her home. During this visit, Taylor made a shocking confession. "I did it. I killed Terrell." According to the witness, Taylor described how on the early morning of December 20th, 2021, she and Terrell had gotten into a heated argument at their home. The conflict escalated when, according to Taylor, Terrell struck her. In response, she grabbed a gun and fired 4 shots at him. The medical examiner would later confirm that one of these bullets struck Terrell in the back, suggesting he was turning away when shot, a detail that contradicted any claim of pure self-defense. With Terrell dead on their floor, Taylor didn't call 911. Instead, she contacted Eddie Brown, a man with whom she had been developing a relationship behind Terrell's back. Cell phone records confirmed multiple calls between Taylor and Eddie in the hours immediately following the estimated time of Terrell's death, around 3:30 a.m. on December 20th. There was a relationship going on between Taylor and Eddie, Sergeant Mitch Henry of the Columbia Police Department later explained. She was planning to, in some capacity, leave Terrell for Eddie. This revelation provided a potential motive. Taylor was caught between 2 relationships, with jealousy and resentment building to a breaking point. Cell phone data showed she had called Terrell repeatedly throughout the night before the shooting, her messages growing increasingly angry as she accused him of infidelity, all while she herself was involved with Eddie Brown. After Eddie arrived at the home, the pair enacted a calculated plan to conceal the crime. They wrapped Terrell's body in plastic and loaded it into the trunk of Taylor's rental car. Surveillance footage later recovered by police showed Taylor and Eddie driving together between 4:30 a.m. and 8:30 a.m. on December 20th, corroborating the timeline of body disposal. As they transported Terrell's body to a secluded area near a creek off Monticello Road, they removed the ankle monitor from his leg and tossed it out of the car window about a mile from where they would dump his body. This explained why the monitoring company had detected tampering with the device on December 21st. It had already been discarded after being removed from Terrell's body. The cold calculation continued after the disposal. Within 12 hours of killing Terrell, Taylor visited a local pawn shop with a distinctive item, Terrell's custom mouth grill. Security footage showed her calmly conducting the transaction, converting her boyfriend's personal item into cash while his body lay hidden in the creek. Within 12 hours of killing her child's father, someone that she supposedly cared about, that she's interested in seeing how much money she can get from his one piece of jewelry, is kind of mind-blowing, Prosecutor Catherine Kavanaugh later remarked. For the next 2 days, Taylor went about her life as if nothing had happened. Only on December 22nd did she report Terrell missing, beginning the charade that would continue for 2 weeks. As investigators processed the information from the witness, they obtained warrants to search Taylor's rental car and the home she had shared with Terrell. The evidence they discovered was damning. In the rental car, forensic technicians found a bullet hole in the hood and traces of blood in the trunk. Inside the home, luminol testing revealed blood evidence that had been cleaned up but not completely eliminated. Armed with this evidence and the witness testimony, police narrowed their search to the area around Monticello Road, where Taylor had focused many of her search efforts. On January 5, 2022, officers made the grim discovery they had been expecting. Terrell Sims' body, partially submerged in a creek, wrapped in plastic. The autopsy confirmed what the witness had reported. Terrell had been shot 4 times, with wounds to his torso and back. The medical examiner determined he had been dead since approximately December 20th, contradicting any possibility that he had voluntarily disappeared as Taylor had claimed. The evidence painted a clear picture of what had transpired. An argument fueled by jealousy and suspicion had escalated to violence. Taylor, perhaps locked into her rage, as investigators would later describe it, shot Terrell multiple times. Rather than reporting what she had done, she enlisted her paramour to help dispose of the body and evidence. She then crafted an elaborate missing person scenario, going so far as to organize searches in the vicinity of where she had hidden his body. I think it's really crazy how she killed him, disposed of him, and then helped everybody look for his body, Jessica Nallen, Columbia Police Sergeant, later said. That's just next-level evil. The discovery of Terrell's body and the mountain of evidence connecting Taylor to his death brought an end to the search. But it was just the beginning of the legal process that would seek justice for a father for whose life had been cut short by someone he had trusted, someone who had maintained a facade of concern while knowing exactly what had happened to him all along. On January 6, 2022, just 1 day after discovering Terrell Sims' body, the Columbia Police Department arrested 29-year-old Taylor Wardlaw. The woman who had spent 2 weeks organizing search parties and pleading for help finding her missing boyfriend was now in handcuffs, charged with his murder. Police formally charged Wardlaw with murder and possession of a firearm during a violent crime. The arrest warrant detailed how she had shot Terrell multiple times during an argument, then conspired to hide his body and create a false narrative about his disappearance. The community that had rallied around her, offering support and joining her search efforts, now reeled from the betrayal. All of that just goes to show a cover-up of a killing versus if it was self-defense, Prosecutor Catherine Kavanaugh explained when discussing the evidence against Taylor. The calculated nature of her actions after the shooting, disposing of the body, pawning Terrell's jewelry, creating an elaborate missing person story, undermined any claim that the killing had been an act of protection or impulse. The investigation didn't stop with Taylor. Evidence clearly showed she hadn't acted alone in concealing Terrell's death. Shortly after Taylor's arrest, police also took Eddie Youngsta Brown into custody, charging him as an accessory after the fact to murder. Surveillance footage, cell phone records, and witness testimony had established his role in helping Taylor transport and dispose of Terrell's body, as well as removing and discarding the ankle monitor that might have led authorities to the crime sooner. As the case moved through the legal system, Terrell's family waited for justice. His children, including young Chauncey, who had been photographed clinging to his father's picture and crying for him, faced growing up without their father. His twin sister Marcella and other siblings grappled with not only the loss, but the manner in which it had occurred, at the hands of someone they had welcomed into their family circle. The case was set to go to trial in March 2024, more than 2 years after Terrell's murder. Family members prepared themselves for the difficult process of hearing the details of his death recounted in court, steeling themselves for what would likely be a lengthy and emotional trial. But on what was scheduled to be the first day of proceedings, an unexpected development occurred. Taylor Wardlaw, led into the courtroom in restraints, announced through her attorney that she wished to change her plea. Rather than proceeding with a trial where she faced the possibility of life imprisonment if convicted of murder, she agreed to plead guilty to the lesser charge of voluntary manslaughter. The plea deal, negotiated between her defense team and prosecutors, included dropping the weapons charge in exchange for her admission of guilt to the killing. After reviewing the evidence and consulting with Terrell's family, prosecutors accepted the arrangement. On March 25, 2024, the judge sentenced Taylor Wardlaw to 20 years in prison for the death of Terrell Sims. With the sentence imposed, she would not be eligible for release until 2038 at the earliest, when she would be in her mid-40s. For Terrell's family, the resolution brought mixed emotions. While the guilty plea spared them the trauma of a trial and ensured Taylor would serve significant time, many felt the punishment didn't match the crime. "I felt she should have gotten more," Terrell's sister Rose Sims told reporters after the sentencing. "I wish she got life to tell you the truth about what she did." Rose explained how the impact on Terrell's children factored into her feelings about the sentence. They still be asking where their daddy is. And it's kind of hard to sit down and explain to them their daddy's gone. You can tell them that all you want, but for a 3-year-old and a 4-year-old, they are not going to understand. Despite her disappointment with the length of the sentence, Rose expressed a commitment to forgiveness that reflected her brother's loving nature. "Nobody is perfect, and I'm not saying she's a bad person because she really wasn't, but it was what she did and what she done. It was the after effect of what she did to my brother's body and what she did to him, and then try to lie and tell different lies that weren't true." As for Eddie Brown, his case remained pending in the court system, with proceedings continuing separately from Taylor's case. The resolution brought some measure of closure to a case that had shocked Colombia, but for Terrell's family, especially his 4 children, the impact of his loss would continue long after the legal proceedings concluded.
20 years ain't enough for me, but I guess that's a start. Hopefully, I'm praying when she get out, she'll apologize or say she was sorry or explain the actual reason why. They still be asking where their daddy is, and it's kind of hard to sit down and explain to them, your daddy's gone. You could tell them that all you want, but for a 3-year-old and a 4-year-old, they're not going to understand. My brother was trying to leave her. He didn't want to be with her anymore, and she just couldn't accept it. I felt like all the stuff, all the evidence that they had and everything they did, everything they said that she did, 20 years is not enough. Nobody's perfect. And I'm not saying that she was a bad person, because, she really wasn't, but it's what she did. It's what she done. It was the after fact, what she did with my brother's body or what he did to him. And then try to lie, tell different lies that was not true.
The case of Terrell Sims and Taylor Wardlaw offers a disturbing glimpse into the human capacity for deception. For 2 weeks, Taylor maintained an elaborate facade, organizing searches, making tearful pleas to the public, and comforting Terrell's family members, all while knowing she had taken his life and hidden his body. This level of deception requires compartmentalization, the psychological ability to separate contradictory behaviors and emotions. Taylor could stand before news cameras appearing devastated, while simultaneously knowing exactly what had happened to Terrell. She could hug his siblings while harboring the knowledge that she had shot their brother multiple times. "I think something just kind of broke inside her mind," Sergeant Mitch Henry suggested when trying to understand Taylor's actions. The investigation revealed how jealousy had consumed her thinking in the hours before the shooting. Cell phone records showed her repeatedly calling Terrell, her rage building with each unanswered call. The irony, of course, was that while Taylor was obsessively tracking Terrell's movements and accusing him of infidelity, she herself was involved with Eddie Brown. This projection, attributing to others the very behaviors one is guilty of, is a common psychological pattern in volatile relationships. What makes this case particularly chilling is not just the murder itself, but the calculated performance that followed. Taylor didn't flee or confess. She created an alternative reality where she was the concerned girlfriend rather than the perpetrator. She even went so far as to pawn Terrell's mouth grill for cash within hours of killing him, showing a disturbing ability to compartmentalize her actions. The case also highlights how volatile relationships often show warning signs long before they turn deadly. Taylor's controlling behavior, monitoring Terrell's calls and movements, represented classic red flags. The previous domestic violence incident, regardless of its circumstances, indicated a relationship already marked by serious conflict. Perhaps most importantly, this case demonstrates that truth has a persistent quality. It eventually surfaces despite elaborate efforts to conceal it. Taylor's inconsistent stories, her strange behavior during searches, and the physical evidence she couldn't completely eliminate all contributed to the unraveling of her deception. All of that just goes to show a cover-up of a killing versus if it was self-defense, prosecutor Catherine Kavanaugh noted. The truth emerged not from a single piece of evidence, but from the accumulation of inconsistencies and contradictions that Taylor couldn't manage to control. For those who follow true crime cases, Terrell's story serves as a reminder that appearances can be profoundly deceiving. The person organizing the search may be the perpetrator. The tears shed in public may mask private knowledge. The story that seems straightforward at first glance may contain layers of deception that only careful investigation can reveal. In the end, Taylor's elaborate performance couldn't withstand scrutiny. The truth about what happened to Terrell Sims emerged, bringing some measure of justice to a family left to grapple with not just his loss, but the betrayal by someone they had trusted. The ripple effects of Terrell Sims' murder extended far beyond the courtroom. For his 4 children, Riley, Jemiah, Terrell Jr., and Chauncey, the loss created a void that no legal resolution could fill. Chauncey, in particular, demonstrated the profound grief that even young children experience. Family members described how he would hold his father's photograph close to his chest each night, crying for a daddy who would never return. When Terrell first died, he held a picture every night close to him crying for his daddy, Rose Sims recalled, highlighting the emotional toll on the innocent victims of this tragedy. The children now face growing up without their father's presence at birthdays, school events, and holidays, all the milestones Terrell would have cherished. Their questions about where Daddy went will evolve as they age, requiring difficult conversations about how and why he was taken from them. For Terrell's twin sister Marcella, the journey forward has been equally challenging. Having shared a unique bond with her brother since birth, his absence created a void unlike any other. Yet despite her grief, Marcella spoke about the importance of forgiveness, not for Taylor's benefit, but for her own peace. "I've been trying to ask God to help me with forgiveness and peace," she shared. "You have to forgive no matter how bad it is. You have to, so you can have peace." This capacity for forgiveness in the face of such betrayal speaks to the strength of Terrell's family as they navigate life without him. While Taylor Wardlaw serves her 20-year sentence, they face the harder task of rebuilding their lives around an absence that can never be filled. The case of Terrell Sims serves as a stark reminder of how quickly domestic tensions can escalate to violence, how deception can mask dark truths, and how families are left to pick up the pieces long after the legal proceedings conclude. If this story moved you, please hit the like button and subscribe to DarkTrace Crime Stories for more in-depth true crime investigations. What do you think really happened between Taylor and Terrell? Let me know in the comments below.